The Hollywood actors strike is looking to continue into 2024, and with a bunch of people that are going to have a lot of time on their hands in the convening months, I have a project if anybody's interested. We need to understand the phenomenon that is currently going on with these women who get cast in the lead roles of Hunger Games films. Are they well? Is this a curse? Do you just immediately drop 50 IQ points whenever you're going to be starring in one of these films? Like, somebody send help. Like, blink twice if you're being told behind the scenes to say this egregious shit. Like, it's fantastic. We got a brand new thing that came out from Rachel Zegler, which, I'm so happy. Sent out a tweet when this first came out. Thankfully, we get another year of these sterling insights from this intellectual powerhouse. But in regards to the Hunger Games, you guys might remember at the end of last year, Jennifer Lawrence coming out and saying that she basically invented women. She was the first one to ever be caught on film, in fact. No. She unironically said that she was the first ever female action lead ever in the Hunger Games films. It's like, no, just so provably and completely untrue. You can just roll out the same old list of casting characters, right? Like Ellen Ripley, Sarah Connor. They're great examples, and they're sterling examples because they are legendary names. They are legendary characters in the game. Who the hell, outside of a bunch of weirdos, ever thinks about the Hunger Games films? Like, they're trash, bro. Okay, they're absolute trash. Nobody likes that shit. Nobody goes back and watches them. I hear that the books are better, but the book that this next one that's coming out from, it was being made. The publishing house, okay, Lionsgate, put a gun, metaphorically, to the temple of Suzanne Collins and was like, can you just go ahead and, crank out something new so we can put something to the screen? She's like, all right, bet, as long as the bag is big enough. We're like, we can make some shit happen. But no, Rachel Zegler out here, not to be outdone by her predecessor, somebody who she had the opportunity to meet and she called mommy. So, to piggyback, she unironically said that. I covered it very briefly in one of the previous videos. Probably the one that, all the Hunger Games sims came out and said, well, you can't talk about it unless you've watched them. Now, I can read numbers and know that this shit fell off harder than Jennifer Lawrence herself. It's like, to the extent that you have to go in order to get any sort of fanfare for yourself, it's like, wow, stunning and brave. We got a 30-something-year-old single mother who's out there. I think she's married to some cuck. Or maybe she just recently got divorced. Really doesn't much matter, man. You got some 30-something that's out there showing her tits. It's like, yeah, the world's seen that shit all the way back during the fappening in the early 2000s. Okay, she was the central figure of that. This is this dumb bitch who was out there trying to get the internet to take down pictures that she didn't like. Haven't you heard about the Streisand effect? Like, I seen that bitch's titties a long fucking time ago. I don't need to see the 2023 variation of them. That's fine. I like them when they were up here, not down here. And it's just, hey, another little aside. Don't take pictures of yourself naked. It's never good, okay? Like, a guy, it's like, it's nice to see some titties on your screen, but what the fuck can you do with it? It's only going to be used against you in the future. You can't stick your dick in a charging slot, even though there's some Asian people that are out there that might try, but they're only going to be used against you in the future. That's why I don't take dick pics, I don't take fucking naked selfies or anything like that, and I don't expect any of the women that I do my dirt with to do the same, okay? There's no benefit in doing any of that stuff. But anyways, and got caught off on a tangent just thinking about how stupid bitches are. Anyways, getting back to the original point, Rachel Zegler thinks that Suzanne Collins created the first story ever depicting a young woman as an anti-establishment and anti-governmental figure. But this is a 30-second clip. We're going to watch it, okay, or at least listen to it in some form or fashion. Feel free to do that as well. And I just want you to focus in on a couple of different things that I'll point out afterwards. See if you could also find them before the end of the clip here, because I think that'll be pretty important to point out.
The Hunger Games kind of started that era of like Divergent and Shadowhunters,
Oh, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the previously recorded thing, but she's talking about the early 2000s where you had all of those female-led action movies that went absolutely nowhere at the speed of smell. Remember Cheyenne Woodley was going to be one of the big stars in Hollywood? Yeah, the last time she was relevant is when Aaron Rodgers turfed her ass for a younger model. Oh, well.
Suzanne was the first to write this young woman who was anti-establishment, anti-government, and really standing up for what's right in a very unconventional way, without an air of sweetness or even there was nothing cordial about her either. She was very rough around the edges, and It was amazing to read that.
So she was really stupid, abrasive, uncouth. Okay, so nothing that you would look forward to seeing with a traditionally feminine woman. Okay, there's stories that you can tell off of that. Sarah Connor from T1 as opposed to T2 is kind of that figure, but nobody ever wrote about that, so don't worry about that. Of course, those screenwriters don't count. They pale in comparison to the great Suzanne Collins, who sold a hell of a lot of books, but so is J.K. Rowling, and she couldn't even write a fucking menu appropriately. I like the Harry Potter films, but her fucking writing style is absolute ass cancer. But I said there were a couple of things that you should probably be able to point out there. Obvious. Yeah, like I said, it's not the previously recorded part that they have to put out because the strike is continuing to go on right now. But the way that Rachel Zegler talks about the Hunger Games books themselves as compared to the Snow White source material, it's night and day. So she might actually be passionate about this project. Too bad it's going to make like $2,800 at the box office when it opens up in a couple of weeks' time. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, that is one video that I'm looking forward to make as opposed to anything else that's out there. The conclusion of the Israeli-Palestine conflict, that can wait. Dylan Mulvaney's next sponsorship opportunity, I'm totally fine with that. The box office opening weekend for the Hunger Games prequel, that will be Christmas come early, trust me, guys. But Rachel Zegler claiming the Hunger Games was the first story to depict a female character that was anti-establishment and anti-government. Rachel Zegler shared what she believes the Hunger Games novels by Suzanne Collins were the first stories depicting a young woman as anti-establishment and anti-government. In a pre-recorded promotional video for the upcoming Hunger Games Ballad of the Songbirds and Snakes, Rachel Zegler says, Hunger Games kind of started like Ear of like a Divergent and Shadowhunter. She elaborated, it was like she was really, Suzanne was like the first to write this young woman who is anti-establishment, anti-government, really standing up for what's right and really unconventional way without an era of sweetness. I think it was supposed to be an era of sweetness, which, yes, that's what everybody wants to go to. Okay, it's like, even though we've had decades and decades of audience evidence that they're just tired of seeing that shit, and they have always and forever, for as often as Hollywood wants to try to cram the strong female protagonist down everybody's throat, unless there's some motherly nature to it, unless there's some sort of innate femininity. Like, there's ways that you can tell a badass female story. Like, the femme fatale archetype has worked forever because it's a good one, because it just goes and it maximizes all of the fantastic attributes of being a woman. And it's what the audience wants to see. Inherently feminine women and masculine men. That's what people want to see. That's what they've gravitated towards in Hollywood forever. You can tell there are untold stories that are out there. There are rehabbed stories that are out there. There are old ideas and concepts that you can slap a new coat of paint on, put out there on the screen, and people will lap it up. Not every remake, not every sequel is devoid of creative content. It's just the ones that we're seeing right now are just boilerplate examples. It's the same thing that goes. It's the same thing that goes with the superhero shit that's out there right now. The DC stuff, the Marvel stuff. Oh, it's superhero fatigue. If it was written well, there would be no fatigue. That's why I hate the idea that, there's just Hollywood's run out of ideas. Basically, we're at a point in time where every song has been sung, every story has been told, every movie's been shot. It's just the way that you move the pieces on the chessboard that allows your retelling of an old archetype to be unique and memorable for people that are out there. Let's continue on. Ironically, Zegler's comments are similar to actress Jennifer Lawrence, who starred as Katniss Everdeen in the original Hunger Games films. Lawrence claimed in an interview with Viola Davis as part of the actor on actor bit, I remember when I was doing Hunger Games, nobody would ever have put a woman in the lead of an action movie because it wouldn't work, we were told. Girls and boys can identify with a male lead, but boys cannot identify with a female lead. Which is just so fucking inherently stupid, but it also it shows the inherent solipsism and her solipsistic nature. There we go. In women, because guess what? Well, I didn't play the video games, but some of my friends growing up who had PlayStations, they loved the fuck out of the Tomb Raider games. Can't identify with a female lead, right? Films that I've mentioned before. But no, it's so funny. Whenever you give the opportunity to a woman to write a female character, it always seems to work out terribly. Check out She-Hulk. Check out The second Charlie's Angels remake, yeah, those don't end up working out all that well. But the most timeless female characters that are out there, they were written well, they were well-rounded, they weren't one-dimensional robots that just, they just need to do whatever's right, and who cares if they're likable individuals. Audiences identify with likable, relatable characters. Having a bitch on screen that is devoid of any sort of caring, any sort of redeemable characteristics. Yeah, if Suzanne Collins was the first person to write that, well, that's probably for a reason, because that's an unwinnable situation. I would just imagine that's probably a mischaracterization of her work. Zegler's comments about Collins being the first person to write a young woman being anti-government and anti-establishment. George Lucas, yeah, Princess Leia, that's a good one. One could even say real historical figures as well. Point to to how absurd the comment is. Yeah, Saint Joan of Arc, patron saint of France, led French forces, yes, against England and the Burgundians. She eventually was captured and then turned over to the English and martyred, of course. And then you have all of your other historical examples of Queen Victoria setting off the what's that called? All right, the Victorian era. I mean, Helen of Troy, like, come on, man. We could be here all day just laying out different examples of how stupid she is. But then again, if you're that dumb where you're just going to go ahead and regurgitate something that is provably and easily provably false, we know that you're an empty vessel. She might be passionate about this project, but we know that Rachel Zegler will just go ahead and say whatever she needs to in order to get the most attention possible, because that's her gimmick, man. Hunger Games actress Rachel Zegler plays the victim, claims she only receives backlash for being outspoken. Yes, that is partially true. A broken clock is right twice a day, but it's because what you say is so cataclysmically dim. That's why you get the pushback. Actress Rachel Zegler, who plays Lucy Gray Baird. Good thing you can go ahead and ingrain that name right now, because in a few weeks time, you ain't gonna fucking remember it. In the upcoming Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes recently addressed the backlash she received for her comments about Snow White, as well as her defamation of actors Jeremy Renner and Gina Carano. Did a video on that as well if you'd like further insight into that. The Wrap listed Zegler as one of the trailblazers of Latino Power List in 2023. Did a video on that last week if you'd like further context there. As part of her entry, Zegler informed the outlet, "It's an honor to be recognized in the way that both celebrates our heritage and lifts up our contributions that we all make to the industry, where it can be particularly hard for us to be seen and heard in a meaningful way." Again, it's so goddamn dim, because there's how many different Hispanic actresses and actors, and guess what? Most of them don't have to pull the race card in order to prove how good they are in front of the screen. Some people are just fucking talented and they get work. They don't need to be tapped as Hollywood's next it girl and then just given every opportunity in the book, from being cast in a Steven Spielberg pick, just from a random casting call. I'm sure probably had the softest hands and the warmest mouth in the room, and then immediately getting cast in a superhero film, and then in a legendary role doing a Disney remake, and then right after that also continuing on with a somewhat successful franchise in the Hunger Games, trying to reboot that as well, and then also earmarked for a voice acting role with the guy who created Pixar, for Christ's sakes. She's been afforded every single opportunity that people work their entire lives to get. She is the quintessential example of thinking that you hit a triple, but you were actually born on third base. She's an entitled hack who's not even that good of an actress. Like, people who watch this shit, they're just like, she's mid at best, but at her dirt worst, she's as bad as anybody cast in some of those old 80s B-level action flicks. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because, her films will continue to bomb. She will always have a victim card to play. It's because the audiences are misogynistic, okay? They just seen a female lead and they just wouldn't go there because they're all goddamn bigots. Or that, it's because you wouldn't want to see a Hispanic, in her case, half Hispanic, but that's all right. It doesn't quite hit as hard if, you got to actually give correct information. So, no, they're all just racists that are out there, or they don't like me because I'm young, or they'll just, or she'll just pull the AOC excuse. Everybody who criticizes me just wants to date me. Nobody wants to date you with that toxic personality. I want to grab onto those titties for a hot second, but outside of that, nobody takes you fucking seriously. But hey, man, like I said, I'm so goddamn happy that the Snow White remake got pushed off for an additional year, because we'll hear sterling things like her fictional retelling of history for at least all of 2024. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.